Lots of things changing. Conditions are in motion out there. These were the roads earlier today. We know if you're heading out the door, they look quite different. We will update you on those road conditions on this snowy day in Austin.
And as those conditions are changing, our local leaders are still working to try to keep people safe. If they have to get out there on the roads, we'll take you inside one county's operations during this wintry weather.
And let's go and take a look at that radar right now. Most of the activity now out of the area. We're starting to see some sunshine, but we have colder conditions remaining. More details coming up.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. You are looking live from the top of your Austonian camera at quite a different view than what we saw just an hour ago at 11. There was a lot more white dusting the ground out there. Now all we see is green, and we see that sun peeking out. But we know temperatures are going to stay chilly today, so the city announced it will be keeping its cold weather shelters open. The mayor says around 550 people are using those to make sure they have somewhere to stay warm.
Now we want to get a check on what the conditions are like through the rest of the day with meteorologist Freddie Vela. Freddie, those temperatures will remain cold today.
Yeah, unfortunately, and even though we'll be above freezing, we back down again by the time we get to 8 p.m. So a cold weather advisory is still in effect until noon on Wednesday. That encompasses almost all of Central Texas. San Saba and Mason left out of this, a different National Weather Service, so not as much of an effect for them compared to everyone else. Different criteria. However, no matter where you're at, it's still going to be cold out there, and you'll see with some of the numbers. San Saba, it'll still be cold. Mason, it'll still be very, very cold. Snowfall totals, I have a couple of them that came in. Jollyville at just less than a tenth of an inch of snow out there. 0.3 inches out towards Austin Bergstrom International Airport, and 0.5 out towards Onion Creek, and then you get almost a little more than half of an inch of snow in Bastrop and Wood Creek. Wood Creek just out towards the west of San Marcos. Current temperatures right now, 33 in Austin, finally above freezing. A few other spots that are above freezing: Georgetown, Rockdale, Cameron, San Marcos now at 35, LaGrange at 34. But if you're still in the hill country, still below the freezing conditions. Here's a live look right now out of our River City Grill Highland Furniture camera in Marble Falls. And a lot of people driving, but remember, roads are still slick out there. We want to remind you to drive cautiously. We do have the chance of rain returning once again as we reach out towards the weekend. So coming up, we're going to be discussing not only the freeze that we have for tonight, but the warming up that we're going to have over the next couple of days, and then rain chances returning as we get out towards Saturday and Sunday. That's all coming up in your first warning weather.
Freddie, thank you so much. Now, as he just mentioned, we want to get a check on what we're seeing out there on the road. So we want to bring in Barrett Tryon here with KXAN to give us the latest on what he's seeing out there on those conditions.
Okay, Barrett, we want to ask you because at the end of your live hit at 11, we saw a big sun ray come out and light you up. But what are you seeing out there now? Are things starting to melt away?
Yeah, I think God was speaking to me and said, give the guy a break already. He's been out here all morning long. You know what? We have really seen conditions improve, and you can tell that it is getting warmer outside. I do want to point our way towards 183. And as of every time we go to the shot, there is never a car. That is live television at its finest. But you'll see when cars are driving down 183, there's splashback, which is good news. That means the roads are warming up. They're not iced over. Let's take a look at some video from earlier today. And it really was a mixed bag. You name it. We had the wind this morning. We had black ice. We had grapple, we had sleet, we literally had just a little bit of everything, and made travel very treacherous in a lot of areas, especially in the Round Rock area. A lot of those frontage roads were completely iced over, lots of black ice, lots of accidents with semis just trying to navigate the roadways. But back out here live, things are starting to move again. We've noticed a lot of the side streets have also, the crews have been putting down gravel to kind of get you a little bit of traction on the roadways. And we're actually starting to see more people out and about with so many schools canceled today and a lot of businesses closed. A lot fewer cars on the road, so that's good news. I think that is probably why we did not see as many crashes as we could. Of course, tomorrow is going to be the big problem, but I'm hoping that since I got to be out here since 4 o'clock this morning, that during summer, I also get to come outside. I digress. For now, though, we are live in Cedar Park. Barrett Tryon, KXAN News.
Barrett, thank you. I do think we owe Barrett a nice warm cup of coffee or tea when he gets back to the station
All
today.
the treats, yes.
Yeah. Okay, we want to get now to first responders and emergency management crews in our area because they're saying they will still be watching for problems even as things start to melt, even as the sun comes out. That'll be throughout the day and even into tomorrow.
Yeah, KXAN's anchor Tom Miller took us inside the Williamson County Emergency Operations Center to explain why and what they're looking for.
Like a lot of Central Texas counties, Williamson County activated its Emergency Services Operations Center originally overnight and then into today. And moving forward, it is this snow and ice that could melt and then refreeze that they're really worried about. A skeleton crew stayed overnight to monitor conditions, but it wasn't until about 6 this morning that we saw a surge of people flooding in here, and that coincided with more calls for help. Among those here, the sheriff's office, the fire marshal, roads and bridge crews, even the Texas Division of Emergency Management. We also talked with Emergency Medical Services and Division Commander Ed Tidings. His concern is that since it didn't snow a ton, people may be a bit emboldened to go outside or drive, and that's when problems can pop up.
Please be careful. This is the time when everybody says, oh, there's just a light dusting of snow. It's just a little wet on the ground. Well, this is also the time when the wind chill picks up. The winds are picking up right now as the sun comes up, and it's going to cool things off.
Another concern is hypothermia. With wet pavement out here and a fierce wind chill, it's easy to slip and fall. Tidings also urging people not to stay outside in wet clothing and push it. Williamson County road and bridge crews are also doing their best to treat those areas that TxDOT maybe isn't focusing on, and they're using sand and gravel and brine as well. But again, if that ice and snow melts, there's a very good chance it could refreeze overnight. Reporting in Georgetown, Tom Miller, KXAN News.
Tom, thanks so much. Some of you might be wondering about our power grid here in Texas. This is the latest look at the conditions for our grid from ERCOT, which of course manages our power grid here in the state. That purple line right there is the available supply of power, and in that blue line is the demand. So we're seeing the supply is well ahead of what we're expecting right now with those power demands here in our state. So just wanted to give you this update, but ERCOT is issuing a weather watch alert. That means they're watching the grid conditions carefully, and we are expecting, as they said, that the grid conditions will remain normal during this time.
Now we want to give you a look at some different sites around Central Texas. So many of our amazing viewers, you guys have sent in videos, photos of what you're seeing from your backyard. So here's a look from Pflugerville at some of that buildup there on a deck in a backyard. Send us your pictures, report it at KXAN.com. There's also a link on our website to make it really easy for you.
We do love to see that. We also want to show you this look from Cedar Park, where there is snow on top of the vehicles there, building up a little bit on the windshield at the moment. And we love the viewer shouting us out there in that little trace moment of KXAN in the window. So we also want to show you what's happening in West Texas. For the first time ever there, the Texas Panhandle did have a snow squall warning. That warning came because of a narrow band of intense snow creating near zero visibility in some parts along an Arctic cold front as that came through. Extreme cold warnings do remain in effect for that area until later today, and some of the wind chills in parts of the Panhandle went as low as 25 degrees below zero today.
We do want to get you now to Washington, D.C., as today marks President Trump's first full day in office.
He signed a flurry of executive orders yesterday, and attention now is turning to enforcing those. NBC's Chris Pallone is in Washington with the latest.
It is the first full day of the second Trump presidency, and today the nation's new leader is turning his attention here to Capitol Hill, meeting at the White House later today with Republican House and Senate leaders to talk about his legislative agenda. We also expect to hear from the president speaking from the White House later today about infrastructure, according to his White House spokesperson. While Monday was filled with a lot of inaugural ceremonies and celebrations, the president still managed to set his agenda into motion, signing dozens of executive actions and orders. One of the most substantial acts, pardoning nearly all of the people convicted of January 6 related crimes. President Trump pardoned or commuted the sentences of more than 1,500 people, some who committed violence against police officers during the 2021 Capitol riot. One former convict celebrated by cutting off his ankle monitor. The president also signed an order ending birthright citizenship for children born to undocumented parents. That right is enshrined in the Constitution, and the change is already being challenged in court. President also declared an emergency at the southern border and promises to send American troops there and ordered Congress not to take action against the app TikTok for 75 days, despite the deadline for its Chinese owners to sell it passing on Sunday. On Capitol Hill, more of Mr. Trump's nominees will go before Senate committees for confirmation hearings. Last night, the Senate unanimously confirmed Senator Marco Rubio to be Secretary of State. And it appears that the president will be leaving Washington later this week. He and his aides have mentioned potential trips to California and North Carolina to view disaster damage. In Washington, Chris Pallone, NBC News.
We are taking a live look now from our KXAN weather cam over downtown Austin. That sun is shining through, and we know what that's going to do for some of our snowy roadways. We're going to start to see some of that melt off. Freddie is tracking where our weather is headed throughout the day and into tomorrow. Stick with us for his full forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Now, because of that wintry weather we saw overnight and into this morning, being prepared is important. I had a chance to speak with Doug Shoup from KXAN Texas about how people can stay safe out on the roads. We talk about getting ready to hit the roads if you need to, but what should people keep in mind if they do have to get out and about and drive around?
When we have these rare winter storms here in Central Texas, typically we hear a lot about jackknifed 18-wheelers, commercial vehicles, large trucks. Remember that those larger commercial vehicles cannot stop as quickly and as easily as smaller vehicles. So give them plenty of room. Never cut off one of these large trucks or other vehicles as well. Always maintain a very safe distance between your vehicle and other vehicles out there on the roadway. The other thing that you want to do is continue to monitor what the weather conditions are, not only where you're heading, but all along the route so that you're aware of what kind of conditions you could experience when you're out there on the roadways. We also encourage everybody to have an emergency roadside kit in their vehicle. You want to have some things like jumper cables, some gloves, some basic tools, a warning triangle so that should you encounter a breakdown on the roadway, you can place that outside of your vehicle to alert other drivers that your vehicle is disabled on the side of the road. And then also make sure that you have winter clothing, extra jackets, gloves, hats, so that in case you do break down and you're waiting for help, you'll stay warm in the vehicle. And then also, of course, have bottled water in the vehicle with you as well. And don't forget about your smartphone charger so that should you need to call KXAN Texas for help or someone else for help, you're going to have a charged phone and be able to do that.
Okay, if you do have to get out and drive today, we want you to be aware of black ice on the roads. I know Freddie had a great explainer last hour for you, but here's a few more details so that you know what to look out for. It develops usually at night and in the early hours of the morning when the temperatures are typically at their lowest. Now, if most of the road ahead of you is a dull black and there are some shiny spots, that is likely black ice. But keep in mind, you often can't see it, so be aware it could be there even if you're not seeing that. If for whatever reason you hit some black ice, the tips are to stay calm, take your foot off the gas, let the car pass over that patch. Now, if you veer off the road, try to land on empty land, of course, or any of that fluffy snow that we were seeing. And of course, as soon as you can, put those emergency lights on.
Now, if you are trying to catch a ride on Cap Metro today, the transit service did resume some limited operations in Austin this morning. However, pickup service is not running today in both Lago Vista and Manor due to road conditions there. Cap Metro Rail is also not operating today. The agency says it's offering limited bus pickup and access service for essential trips only.
Okay, we know icy roads and power outages are some of the obvious dangers that cold weather brings, but there are some invisible dangers to watch out for as well. Those are things like hypothermia and frostbite. Some early warning signs of these things are uncontrollable shivering as your body tries to warm itself. Then more serious symptoms look like slurred speech, confusion, symptoms that may mimic a stroke. Now, if a victim falls asleep, these conditions can turn deadly if they are not addressed. So, of course, bundling up can help stave off the cold. Wearing too many layers, though, can also pose some problems.
When you generate sweat, that moisture mixed with the cold temperatures will actually decrease your core temperature faster.
Something else to note, hypothermia can set in very quickly. So if you begin shivering or you see a blue tint to your hands and other exposed skin, that is when it is really time immediately to find somewhere warm to get inside.
So many of you have sent in pictures and videos of what you're seeing near your house. Here's some video of snow falling in Bee Cave. Looks like to be either last night or very early this morning. Those flakes coming in front of the camera there, which were very nice. But Freddie, we are seeing some of those conditions improve a little bit.
Yep.
Not seeing as much snow accumulate on the grass, at least here in Austin at the moment.
Yeah, not as much. It depends where you were at, too. Now, I know I have dogs. Will, you have a dog. Was your dog very excited about going outside in the snow?
Yes, my husband let her out this morning, and she kind of didn't know what to do at first, and then did some zoomies. So it was spinning around in the snow, which was really cute.
That's always the best part. You see people out there. So I know the dogs, the kids, especially if people are off school. I may or may not have been one of those people with zoomies in the backyard running around out
so
there. You're telling me that the time for zoomies is almost over, though. Snow zoomies.
It's almost done. That's right. My husky, I think she's broken. She didn't want to be outside in the snow. Well, all the other huskies were very excited to be out there. So take a look. Overall, all the activity has now moved out. The snow showers are pretty much gone, and we're just left with partly cloudy to mostly clear skies. I'll zoom out a bit more. I was just talking to one of our reporters, Dylan McKim, about Houston, and we were discussing how the snowfall that Houston received actually could rank within their top 5 snowiest days. The most snow they actually ever got was on Valentine's Day, 1895, where they got 20 inches of snow in one day. They didn't get that. They got 4 to 5 inches compared to our measly half an inch. So as we move out towards the east, there's still some activity as you get farther out the I-10 corridor. But for here, we're mostly sunny now out towards the west and partly cloudy the farther out towards the east you go. Now, we take a look at current conditions. 30 degrees in Fredericksburg, 28 in Mason, 30 degrees in Marble Falls, 32 in Bastrop. Already starting to see us above freezing the farther out towards the east you go, with the wind chill still making it feel like it's within the teens and the 20s. As we look out towards the rest of the evening, it may be a good idea to snuggle up in a blanket because it is going to be just a tad colder out there. 36 back down to freezing again at 30, and then by 10 p.m. we're looking at 28 degrees. If we don't get enough evaporation going on throughout the day, all the moisture that's still on the ground, that could refreeze, and we're looking at slick roads as a possibility once again for tomorrow morning. Look, we're getting the sunshine, and that's the good news. That should help us out, but with no clouds in the sky, there goes all the daytime heating overnight, and that's going to allow for us to freeze one more time. And especially with the winds not being as strong, that's definitely not going to help us at all. So all the activity out towards the east, we're left with clear skies. Clouds will roll back in as we get out towards Thursday into Friday. Rain chances pick up as we get farther into the weekend, but temperatures are on their way back up before that next front comes in Sunday into Monday. So take a look at your 7-day forecast. 30s to 40s to 50s to 60s, but even each and every morning we're still down into the 20s. It's not until we get to Saturday where we finally stay above freezing for parts of Central Texas, and then by Sunday it's like it never even happened. 69 as a high, 52 for a low, and then as we get into Monday we're back down to around average at 59 degrees as a high.
Welcome back, everyone. Thousands of displaced Palestinians are making the journey back to their homes in Gaza, and more aid trucks rolled into there as a ceasefire entered its 3rd day. NBC's Danielle Himamdjian reports from Tel Aviv.
Good morning, and it has been a good 2 days according to the United Nations. The UN says that there's been significant progress in getting aid into the Gaza Strip, that the past 48 hours have gone relatively smoothly. We're not used to hearing such words by the UN, but just goes to show that this fragile truce is for now holding. Now, translating those words into numbers, and keep in mind that over the past few months, the average daily number of trucks going in was between 50 to 70. Yesterday, 900 trucks were allowed in. The day before that, around 600, carrying not only humanitarian aid and supplies, but as well as commercial goods. And 600 was roughly the average daily number of trucks going in before the war began. This morning, also warnings by the IDF that Israeli soldiers remain deployed in certain areas of the Gaza Strip, and warning people not to approach them. It also said that if Hamas adheres to the terms of the deal, that people will be able to go back to northern Gaza, the worst hit area. In fact, people have already started to return, even though there's not much left. It is home to them. Palestinians will tell you that they have a history of forced displacement, and so one way or another, they will go back to their home in northern Gaza. Danielle Hamamjan, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News at Noon.
Good afternoon and welcome back, everybody. We keep checking in on this camera over downtown Austin because every time we look at it, there's a little bit less of the white stuff, a little bit more of the green stuff. We know conditions are changing quickly.
Yeah, we want to get a check now with meteorologist Freddie Vela, and let's fast forward a few hours. What can we expect tonight?
Unfortunately, back down to freezing conditions once again. We're finally above that, but it looks like by 8 p.m. down to 32 again. So here's a look at your sidewalk forecast for tomorrow, because all the snow that's come down, something's got to happen with it. And if it doesn't evaporate, it's just going to melt, stay on the road, and then refreeze tonight. So I'm just keeping us within that icy condition for tonight. And that's thanks to all of the water that's now being left over from the snow. As we get out towards tomorrow evening, then things will change and we're looking more at wet to dry conditions. And then we should be fine as we go on throughout Thursday and into Friday. Look at what our temperature is going to be like for tomorrow morning. Down into the low 20s, upper teens for pretty much everyone. 19 in Fredericksburg, Mason, Llano, San Marcos, Lockhart, and so many more, with Austin hitting about 21 degrees. So a cold weather advisory is still in effect, and that is until noon Wednesday because of the colder air. Now, we see a beautiful image out of our KXAN weather cam on top of our studios. 32 in Austin, 35 in San Marcos, Fredericksburg at 30 degrees, Georgetown at 33, and Bastrop currently sitting at about 34 degrees. Coming up, we're going to be talking about the freeze for tonight, about our temperatures warming up over the next few days, and the rain chances that return as we get out towards the weekend.
Freddie, thank you. All morning we've had some of our amazing live crews out checking on the conditions in different locations, especially as we know things are changing. They're quite in flux right now.
Yeah, we want to go now to KXAN's Mercedes Hernandez. And Mercedes, remind us about where you are, and it looks like you're seeing a little bit of snow sticking around there.
Yeah, so right now I'm at Fisherman's Park here in Bastrop. I've been kind of all over the eastern part of our viewing area this morning, starting about 5 or so. We've been from Maynard to Elgin to out here in Bastrop, seeing the conditions, as Freddie kind of alluded to, just change so quickly in the span of those few hours. Now you guys can kind of see the snow out here sticking around, but it's mostly just sticking around in the shadow of these big old oak trees out here at Fisherman's Park. And I don't think it's a stretch to guess that some of the snow that's already melted off is ending up in the Colorado River behind me. But yeah, the park is empty right now, but we did see some families out here enjoying the snow when there was more of it to enjoy before the sun started kind of letting that all melt. I spoke to one family, the Timmermans, that were kind of braving the elements out here to enjoy the little taste of snow that they could get. Take a listen.
I like the cold.
Same. I really like the cold.
For playing it.
Yeah,
right?
Playing it, yeah.
And then hot cocoa later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get in on that too. Some hot cocoa later for sure. But yeah, just to give you guys an idea of how few people are really out and about. Started to see more people actually starting to come out and about a little past 11. Once it really started to warm up, I think the sun really started bringing people out. But we went to Buc-ee's a little bit earlier just for a little pit stop out here. And it was a ghost town out there. So that place is almost always packed, almost always busy, but lots of open gas pumps and lots of open space out there, you guys. In Bastrop, Mercedes Hernandez, KXAN News.
That's when you know, when the Buc-ee's is empty, people are staying home.
Yeah, well, Mercedes, I hope that you get that hot cocoa, and we'll raise a coffee mug to you there. So enjoy that. Well, we also want to show you what some of our viewers have experienced throughout the day. This is some video from Bee Cave. You can see a little bit earlier in the darkness there, some snowflakes falling and accumulating, at least in what looks like the parking lot from that area. There's also some fun things happening for people out there enjoying some sledding in parts of our area. This is from video from one of our crews that went to a park there in South Austin. Hope anybody that is out and about today is enjoying what they see, but we'll keep an eye on those conditions as they keep changing throughout the day.
We are not alone. More than 55 million people across several states could be affected by this historic winter storm. NBC's Priscilla Thompson has the latest from the Houston area, where snow continues to fall.
Well, as you can see here in Houston, the snowflakes are coming down. This is not something that we are used to seeing here. You've got these massive snowflakes coming down and just the ground is completely covered. This is certainly more than a dusting. Across the city and really across this region, you have got businesses that are closed, schools that are closed. All of the major airports here in Houston are also closed, and there are states of emergencies declared in places like Louisiana, Arkansas, as they are preparing for all of this snow that is coming in. And the really big concern for officials is the roadways. They do not want people on these roads. A number of these southern cities don't have snow plows to help clear that out. And so it's going to take waiting until the snow begins to melt, which could take a couple of days because of these below freezing temperatures that we're expected to see for at least the next 24 hours. Back to you.
The cold also affecting things up in Washington, D.C. as President Donald Trump took the oath of office for the second time. That ceremony inside the Capitol building, very different from what we've seen in recent years.
The president also wasted no time setting to work on his agenda, including a slew of pardons for convicted criminals. Last night, President Trump fulfilled a campaign promise of pardoning nearly all of the January 6th rioters. The president took his oath of office, as we mentioned, at about noon Monday. That ceremony moved inside because of the frigid temperatures there. The new first couple then walked the outgoing president and first lady from the Capitol, where they then departed. After those ceremonial festivities at the Capitol and an inaugural celebration at the Capital One Arena in D.C., President Trump returned to the White House.
There, Trump signed pardons and commutations for everyone convicted of crimes related to the January 6th riot at the Capitol. Around 1,500 people with convictions from misdemeanors up to felonies were pardoned. A handful of violent offenders were given commutations. That means their punishment, like jail time, is wiped, but their convictions do remain. President Trump suggested more pardons could be coming.
We're looking at different things. But the commutations would be the ones that we'll take a look, and maybe it'll stay that way, or it'll go to, full pardon.
One of those people that Trump pardoned was the leader of the Proud Boys. His name is Enrique Tarrio. He was serving 22 years in federal prison after a conviction of seditious conspiracy. He was not at the Capitol on the day of the January 6th riot in 2021. And he was not convicted of any violent attacks. However, federal prosecutors said he was a key organizer of this. Tarrio's family released a statement saying he has now been released from a prison in Louisiana and is expected to arrive back in Miami later today.
President Joe Biden on Monday also issued pardons really just minutes before he left office. These were to 5 family members, including several of his siblings, even though none of them have been charged with any crimes. The pardons were also granted for Dr. Anthony Fauci, former Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Mark Milley, and other members of staff of the committee that investigated the January 6th attack, and Capitol and D.C. Metropolitan police officers who testified before that committee. We know several tech billionaires were present at that inauguration ceremony, including Tesla's Elon Musk. Musk threw his support behind the president and summed up this election by calling it a fork in the road of human civilization.
You know, there are elections that come and go. Some elections are, important, some are not. But this one. This one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you.
Of course, there has been quite a bit of controversy over that hand signal raised at the end of that speech there that NBC News will continue to report on. We expect to see more on that throughout the day. Now, Musk, as you'll remember, has been tapped by the new administration to run the newly created Department of Government Efficiency. He's also been given office space at the White House. In some of President Trump's earlier remarks, he talked about the desire to put Americans on Mars, an idea that Musk and SpaceX have championed.
Vivek Ramaswamy is leaving the Department of Government Efficiency to launch a bid for the governorship of Ohio. That's according to two sources familiar with the plans and even confirmed by the White House. One of those sources told NBC News that it became increasingly clear to Ramaswamy over the last week that pursuing the governor's race and running that commission was not compatible. However, he is leaving the job on good terms with President Trump.
Also on Inauguration Day, President Trump announced plans to sign an executive order to rename the Gulf of Mexico, changing that name to the Gulf of America. In Alaska, returned to the name Mount McKinley, returning that to Mount McKinley, what's now known as Denali. McKinley is in honor, of course, of President William McKinley. After declaring the name change for the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America, Trump said, "What a beautiful name, and it's appropriate, and Mexico has to stop allowing millions of people to pour into our country," end quote.
A new bill could change the name of Nashville's airport to Trump International Airport. The bill was filed on Friday by U.S. Congressman Todd Warner ahead of the inauguration. House Bill 0217 moves to change the name of Nashville's airport to Trump International Airport, which we just mentioned. The bill would require Metropolitan Airport Authority to take actions to execute that name change. Those actions would include setting up new signage, changing registered trademarks with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, revising all existing contracts and legal documents to reflect that new name, and updating references with local, state, and federal agencies.
We are taking a live look out at Circuit of the Americas, where we're not seeing much ice out there at all. From this view, we see the sun peeking through those clouds, and that is what we are seeing across a lot of Central Texas, that sun beginning to come out. Freddie is going to have more on our conditions into the evening, coming up in your full forecast in just a couple of minutes. I want to turn now to Missouri, where first responders rescued a mother and her 6-month-old baby after their car careened into an icy creek.
That dramatic rescue all caught on camera. Charlie Keegan has more from the area where that rescue took place.
That's Liberty Police Officer Zach Morrison jumping into Rush Creek. A car swerved off the road at Highways B&H and crashed through the ice Tuesday morning. A mom and her 6-month-old daughter were trapped inside.
Right behind you.
The woman's husband is on top of the SUV. He was following behind in his own car.
There's not really a lot that's going through my head other than just trying to get the job done.
Morrison's body camera captured the rescue.
This is the first time watching it back.
He ignored the cold water, then used a tool to cut the car's windshield. Morrison and firefighters
Here, hold my hand, I got you.
pulled the woman out of the SUV.
I don't mind getting in the water.
We got you.
Her baby was still strapped into the car seat, luckily above the waterline. Morrison takes off his vest and his body camera so he can fit past the windshield and crawl to the baby.
And my dad instincts kicked in. Once I found out there's a 6-month-old child in the back seat, that's big priority of mine. I'll walk behind you, go this way.
This part of the video is hard to see. A fire captain carries the baby to an ambulance.
You good with him?
I was more worried about the ice and my footing. So I wanted to make sure the baby was passed off to someone who had a little sturdier foot.
I got gloves. I mean, I can try to pull it out.
Amazingly, the baby and mom were okay. They didn't even spend a night in the hospital. Anyone watching the icy rescue would call these first responders heroes.
Hero is not something we are. We're public servants. We know what we signed up to do. A lot of us that have been doing the job for a while, we just don't look at it that way.
We're definitely feeling the cold there.
However you look at it, this video shows more than a typical day on the job.
I think we can safely say heroes. We can say it for them.
Absolutely.
That is incredible.
Wow.
We were all surprised, you know, watching the video. That was shocking.
Yeah, and honestly, a good reminder for all of us, even though some of that snow that we saw is melting away, to just be mindful, even tonight and into tomorrow, that you just never know when there might be a little icy patch that has refrozen.
It is very difficult to see ice on the road, sometimes a little transparent. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at exactly what black ice is when we talk about this. It isn't really black, it's actually transparent, and it's a very thin layer of ice. It's very difficult to see, so you have to be careful, and that's why we say take your time when you're driving places, because we want you to be safe as you're going through, because it is very easy to go over that very thin layer of ice. Yesterday, I was just driving up one of the roadways, getting breakfast. There was just a very thin layer of ice. My car just slid just a tad. So that can tell you, especially if you're going at a high rate, it can be very, very dangerous out there. Clouds and radar at this point, as you can tell. No snow now. It's all gone as far as coming from the sky. What's on the ground is still there in many spots because we're still seeing freezing conditions in many areas. Dripping Springs at 28, Austin back down to 32, Marble Falls at 31, Mason at 29 degrees, Lampasas, San Saba at 27, San Marcos at 35, and LaGrange at around 34 degrees at this time. We're not getting any more snow today. It's done. Now that it's gone, it's not coming back. But what's on the ground will melt with the sunshine coming in many spots, again, getting out of that freezing conditions. Now, tonight, if there's some of that moisture still on the ground, unfortunately, it'll refreeze. So we'll get up to about 38, and that's like the maximum we'll actually receive. And even then, I may have to adjust that to more 35 than 38. But look at what happens as we go throughout the next couple of hours. All the snow that we saw, that's out towards the east. We're not going to see anything whatsoever. Tonight, back down to 21. It's going to be another cold night. Winds coming in from the north at a much calmer 5 to 10 miles per hour, but it's going to feel like it's down into the teens by 6 a.m. Wednesday. 15 is what it's going to feel like in Mason. 13 is what it'll feel like in Fredericksburg. 20 in Austin. 19 in San Marcos. It's not until we get to Wednesday afternoon that it starts to feel like it's normal temperature in the 50s. As we get into Saturday and Sunday, moisture does return, but then Sunday into Monday, a front comes in. That'll start to push some of that moisture away through the eastern portion of Texas. A 7-day forecast from 30s to 40s, 50s, and 60s. It feels like we're on a bit of an upward trend here until that next front comes in and drives us back down by Monday.
Before we let you go this afternoon, we want to show you some of the videos that our viewers have sent in to us. There's one of the Hutto hippos. This video and pictures was taken by Rebecca Risto. And of course, you see there the snow building up, allowing her kids to be able to play and build up a few little snow castles, it looks like. Hutto ISD also was one of the districts that closed its classes today. So, of course, the kids got to enjoy a bit of a snow day there. And here's some more video coming from one of our producers up in North Austin in the Avery Ranch subdivision. That's near Cedar Park. Snow, as you saw there, blanketed many of the cars in the parking lot as well as the roof of the complex there. This video was taken as some snow flurries were falling. However, it may be a little bit difficult to see, but right now, if you have a chance to step outside, and we'll get to do that here in just a few moments, not much hanging around at this point here in Central Austin.
No, unfortunately not. The sun is taking it all away. So hopefully you woke up the kids so that way they can enjoy it. Chief Meteorologist Nick Bannon, he did that, woke up his son, went outside, got to play in the snow today.
A very cute sledding video from them. It's
yeah,
really nice.
Yeah, it's adorable. Hey, tonight though it is still going to be cold out there. 21 degrees. Winds coming in from the north at 5 to 10 miles per hour. So even though the snow is gone or going, just know that it is still going to be cold outside. We want you to bundle up and stay warm, even though, you know, at this point, a lot of schools or all schools are returning tomorrow. Just know that it is still going to be very, very cold. You're going to need to bundle up the little ones. So overall, I just want to remind you for the morning travel tomorrow, it's going to be cold. Warm up that engine, wear the coats, and of course, be careful for any ice that may be on the roads in case some of the moisture does not evaporate in time and refreezes overnight. The 7-day forecast shows that we're on a bit of an upward trend all the way through Saturday into Sunday before the next front arrives and takes us back down to average temperatures, by the way, 59 on Monday, and 45 early in the morning.
All right, thank you, Freddie, and thank you all for joining us here on KXAN News at noon. We'll see you back here in about 30 minutes with another update. Enjoy the rest of your snow day for a lot of you out there. Take care.